Ahoy hoy. So today I figured we would talk about my problem with Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom. And the good news for you all is no, this is not a hate video. I love the movie, okay? But I have a little bit of a problem with it. So here's the thing. Background about me. I don't know if I mentioned it in my intro video. I'm gonna take these off for now. That once upon a time, I used to be passionate about natural disasters. Actually, I'm passionate about disasters in general, but natural disasters mostly. Um, I stopped considering natural disasters being a passion of mine because I got paranoid. And yeah, I don't think I've made a video yet about my issues, but paranoia is one of them. And I got paranoid about how I would think people would think if they knew I was passionate about natural disasters. I know that's a stupid thing to think, and I know my paranoia is so irrational at times. But I was worried about, oh, Lindsay might like this because, the casualties and the distraction rather than I like studying disasters so I can help you and others and myself survive them. That's why I'm passionate about them. Plus, some of them look awesome as hell. You can't deny that. Like tornadoes and volcanoes. Yeah. So, I'm so interested in them though. I just don't consider them a passion anymore, unfortunately, due to the paranoia I had involving it. But anywho, so considering I just said volcanoes that are fascinating and stuff, and tornadoes and volcanoes I like to study the most out of all the natural disasters. You can take a bet of which natural disaster I'm going to talk about regarding the movie. Because there's only one major big one, and that's the volcano eruption. So there's a few things I wanted to address. The first thing that annoys me is that, and I kind of get it how these things are usually for entertainment purposes. I know that they're not realistic, but many people don't study disasters enough to know that these kind of scenarios are not realistic. So this is where I start wearing my glasses again. One thing that happens a lot, and I've seen this in Dante's Peak too, it's not just Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom, is the concept that you can have lava and an explosive eruption in the same eruption. And no, you can't. Because the reason why is that the eruption depends on how much gas is in the volcano. In other words, how pressurized the gas is. Let me see here. In other words, it depends how runny and sticky the magma is. And so, for example, when you have lava eruptions, the ones that Kilauea tend to produce, you have gas that is it's free flowing, it's runny, so that's why Kilauea doesn't tend to have explosive eruptions. It tends to have lava eruptions, and because like the gas, let me see if I get this part right. When volcanologists study old lava flows and stuff, they can actually see particles within the lava of how that are either big or small. And I think the bigger the bubbles are, is like how much gas there was in the volcano when it erupted. And the thing is, the more viscous and more sticky and thick the lava is, or the magma is in the magma chamber, the more violent the eruption is. So I would have gone with just an explosive eruption because the volcano in the movie had been dormant for a very long time, and that's good enough time for gas to accumulate in the magma chamber. And so it was accurate that it was explosive eruption, but the lava did not need to be there, although I can understand why the lava was there. And it was the same thing in Dante's Peak too. And it's the same thing in it was almost the same thing as Dante's Peak as well. The volcano in that movie was inactive for a very long time. It's almost like with Mount St. Helens. Um, with Mount St. Helens, I think before the 1980 eruption, I think the last time it erupted was like in the 1840s, which was observed by Native American tribes. And I think it was the 1840s. I know it was somewhere in the 19th century at least. And but some even if a volcano has been dormant for a long time, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to be an explosive eruption. Take Mount Vesuvius for example. And when it erupted in 79 AD, it was an explosive eruption. But in the 1945 eruption, it was more of a lava eruption because that's what destroyed villages around it more. Because trust me, if that would have been an explosive eruption, that would not have been a good thing. Because Naples is across. What is it? What body of water is that? I don't remember now. But there's a body of water between the volcano and the city of Naples. And if that was an explosive eruption, like over 1 million people would be at risk. And so it wasn't an explosive eruption. Even though there was an ash cloud, it wasn't an explosive eruption because lava was mostly produced during that rather than an explosive eruption like it was in 79 AD. So that's one thing I wanted to address. The second thing that kind of annoyed me was the pyroclastic flow. Now, I will say, it depends where you are when a volcano erupts and produces a pyroclastic flow. Because, first of all, if you're in a danger zone, you're screwed. But if you're just out of the edge of the danger zone, you can still outrun it. There's videos out there of people running away and being in a car and running away from a volcano that is not a movie, it's actual documentation. But the thing is, they were not clearly in a danger zone, because if they were in the danger zone, there would be a sure good way that they wouldn't survive. But the other thing is that there's been times where there's been a pyroclastic flow, and there have been people who survived it, but they were badly burned. Like, where was it at? Martinique or something. But anyway, there was this prisoner that got badly burned during this pyroclastic eruption, and about 30,000 people lost their lives in the city, but the reason why he survived is something to do with his cell. The walls of his cell protected him some way from the pyroclastic flow. So it's not totally implausible to survive a pyroclastic flow, because the gyroscope could have protected them, but it also depends what it's made out of too. Because the thing is, and I'll ignore the gyroscope for a bit, but Owen, okay, in reality, if Owen had been completely engulfed by a pyroclastic flow, he would have either been burned to death or inhaled ash and hot ash and gases. Because there's two ways to die from a pyroclastic flow. There is being burned badly, because trust me, these things can burn to the bone. And if I heard correctly before from several documentations about volcanoes, is that a pyroclastic flow can get so hot that it can actually make your brain boil within your skull. And because they saw a lot of that with Herculum and stuff. With the Mount Vesuvius eruption of 79 AD. Because here's the thing. Pyroclastic flows are between 390 to 1013. I said that wrong. They're between 390 to 1,300 degrees Fahrenheit, and that would be 200 to 700 degrees Celsius. So that's very hot. And they travel very fast. They travel up to about 50 miles per hour, which is 80 kilometers per hour and stuff. So, in other words, if you were in a car, you would really have to jet it to get out of there. But with Owen's case, running away, and since it obviously caught up to him well, because I'm sorry to say this, but he would either died or he would have been badly burned. To have no scratch on him is unrealistic. It's not realistic enough. Now, with the gyroscope, I know they built it with some strong materials that would survive certain things. But the thing is, pyroclastic flows can actually break out glass. And I don't know how tough this stuff was to actually crack it open and stuff. But the thing is, even if the heat didn't actually burn Claire and Franklin in the gyrosphere, I think the gases and ash would have been bad enough to actually still suffocate them. But we'll see. But I do know that Owen would have probably either perished or he would have been badly burned. He would not escape without a single burn on him. That much I can tell you. The gyrosphere is still up in the air and stuff, unless the volcanologists can back me up on some stuff. So, the major thing that pissed me off is how the pyroclastic flow magically stopped at the edge of the cliff when they escaped the pyroclastic flow originally, and then when there was lava and another pyroclastic flow coming when the boat was leaving, how it seemed to magically stop at the edge of the dock. Yeah, I'm gonna provide a link in the description, and particularly a number of a clip to watch where you can actually see a pyroclastic flow run on water, because that's what they do. They don't stop magically when the land ends. It keeps going and going and going. This thing runs on water, and even if you would miss the initial blast of the pyroclastic flow, like when it first goes over, the air is going to be choked with hot ash and gas, and that would cause you to suffocate, basically, or cause you to basically suffocate. So that's my major issues with it from a perspective of studying volcanoes for a very long time. Because, don't get me wrong, I know why these movies are made with certain elements to be entertaining, to keep the audience entertained and stuff. But there may be some people out there that think that, I can outrun a pyroclastic flow, or a pyroclastic flow would magically stop at the edge of land. Because the reality is, that pyroclastic flow would have just eventually caught up with the boat and killed everybody, and then Jurassic Park Fallen Kingdom would have been a very, 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 very short movie. There's some other stuff too, like, I think if someone wanted to evacuate the dinosaurs, even if the Senate would have not agreed with it, like they did in the movie, I think they wouldn't have waited so long. Because evacuations, especially with Mount Pinatubo, happened like a week or two before the volcano actually erupted. And, because, volcanic predictions are kind of still young. They're getting better about it, but back in the 90s, it wasn't that. It was really tested to see how well a volcanic eruption could be predicted. And considering it's 2018, the USGS would have been like, well, if you really want to save the dinosaurs, you need to act now rather than wait to when the volcano really erupted and stuff, like as volcanologists call it, started the show. But yeah, that's my only issues with the movie. I love the movie a lot. So, but I had some things I needed to complain about and get off my chest. So, if you haven't seen it yet and you're a fan of Jurassic Park and Jurassic Park Fallen Kingdom, please go see it. If you are a fan of dinosaurs, I also recommend to go see it. If you're a volcanologist, that's a good question. I have an issue sometimes when I'm watching natural disasters and they're not accurate. I do have a tendency of yelling at the TV about it or a movie. But then again, I'm a little bit odd. So, well, that's about it for this video. If you like it, hit like. If you would like to subscribe, please subscribe. I would be delighted. And if you have any comments or whatnot, let me know. And if you have anything to ask, don't hesitate to ask. So, I'm going to try to be more engaging with you guys because sometimes I feel like I'm not engaging enough. So I have a question for you all. Have you ever watched a movie where you were yelling at it or thinking, "Oh, this is not realistic," or and because you have a specialty in that area, or you're passionate about that area? What movie did you have an issue with because of that? And let me know in the comments. All right, guys. Bye bye.